from Alabama. I've been foraging since probably about 91, 92. Um, went, I know I went full time in about 92, I think, in the spring of 92. Worked with Clay a lot and took a lot of his classes early on. My background is was raised on a farm, then went to tech school and got a degree in electronics, but went back to the farm after about 8 or 9 years, and then I found blacksmithing, and then went full time. And what I've what I mostly do is I do shows, and I do conferences, and I do tools, and for blacksmithing conferences, and I also I teach some, and I have a small little cattle farm, and but I love making tools, and always being around Clay, which was if you know Clay, he's a tool guy. He's like Tim Taylor of tools, but he is a whole lot better and don't get us hurt as much. Um, but he has taught me a lot, and he's actually kind of passed on the tire hammer classes to me. And there's some flyers in there if anybody wants to do a tire hammer class, or I do one in Virginia every year, um, or I do tool making classes. But when I do my demos, a lot of time they are based on a lot of the stuff that I am doing for my shows, because I do commission. Then I have a line of stuff I do, and so and what I'm doing this afternoon is kind of some of my favorites. Um, and some of these is out of what I call common steel, but uncommon items. So I'll do a lot of angle iron, or I'll do pipe, and but once this gets going right here, one of the items I like the horn to the right. I've always been uh, when was doing a lot of traditional scroll work, I'd come right here and have like a little bending forks right there. Scotty asked me why I have the horn to the right. It's because I do a lot of scroll work. Yeah, that's odd to me. I just have an old-fashioned Peterite. Yeah, but I can. But this anvil's so light, I'll flip it around if I need to. But you'll see some of the items up here, and so a lot of these are off from jobs that I've done. But one we're going to do today is a Scotty dog. I don't know if you can see that right there. And I always like starting off with doing a Scotty dog, because it's you come into a strange place with a strange anvil and in a different forge you never use. So it kind of gets me kind of in a groove right here. Um, and I have, I've done, um, these are peapods out of angle iron. Here's some scrolls. I've done, large scrolls, small scrolls. I've done full-size flowers out of 3 or 4 inch channel iron. And tomorrow I'll have all this stuff in there. I just wanted this here where I could talk about it. This is like an old one from when I took a class with Rob Gunner way back in '91, I think. Here's a string of pearls, some traditional work. This is out of pipe. I started out trying to do them out of solid, but pipe was so much easier to forge. It has very little resistance. That it's so easy to forge this. This is one of my little masks that I do. Um, If somebody will move that fire extinguisher right there, I'll look over here at this monitor and I can see if I'm pointing it in the right direction. Good, perfect. Um, we'll try to do one of these. I got listed kind of what some of the items we're going to do. We won't get them all done today, but this is a frog. This was a job I did 15, 20 years ago, and I wanted something new to show here. So I had to practice with this. This was with the original frog, but I had to go and practice, see if I could still do a frog. If we do one today, that'll be the second one in 20 years. Um, but this one actually has the little cricket that he's caught. But I did a table for a lady that had all these little animals on it. She wanted a real lifelike table, and this was a turtle. I thought about doing a turtle here, but I chose the frog instead. But this one's all out of sheet metal. So this is some of the items, and we kind of show the kind of like three steps. This is the elephant right here. This is what I cut it out of. This is mid-state, and this is kind of like finished right here. That's not a good. And then this is a shrimp. A lot of times, if I go and demonstrate, I was going to Louisiana, demonstrate at their conference, so I did a shrimp for them. So this, you'll see kind of the beginning and end. So I love trying to experiment with different things. Uh, you know, your imagination is your best tool that you can kind of develop. You know, if you practice enough, you can make a perfect leaf. But now take that leaf and do something really odd with it. And this is kind of what I do with pipe or with angle iron. But the Scotty dog, and for anybody who wants to go home and make these, I have all the templates for the what I call the easier some of the animals you can do. There's the template for the Scotty dog, and then I had the shrimp, the pea pie, the elephant, and I'm bad to go. Once I make something, I'll go up in size and down in size. I have a Scotty dog that's out of 1 inch angle iron. What we're doing today is the inch and a half, and then I got him all the way up into 3 inch angle iron, which is pretty heavy hammering right there. So anybody who wants to get some paper and draw out the templates, they can. And most of these does have the descriptions. Is that? Oh, I'm going to show this one real quick. So all my templates right here are actually made to go to the inside of the angle iron. They'll never work on the outside. They're made to match the inside, because my little saw over there is made to cut out this way. You'll never be able to cut in this direction here, so you always go like that, so everything is drawn to go with the flat of the table. And this is a nice little setup right here. If you don't have one or never seen one, when I get to the door pull, I'm not going to cut out the Scotty. It's ready to go, but the door pull, I'll come over here and cut. So if they got the electricity going, have me hooked up on that. So the Scotty basically is, you draw it out, and I drill the hose, um, the 1/4 inch hose, and then I'll just take the saw and I'll saw cut everything out. This is a great thing for beginners to do. I teach a lot of beginners these when I do basic classes, and because I have like a series of hammers that I already got made up for all this, because it's something that you can start from out of nothing angle iron, and when you get through, you got most of everybody will finish up with a nice looking Scotty dog. So they're taking something home that's finished. Um, other than an eye punch and a V block to roll the body in, and you need just a little torch system set up. Just do some very isolated heats. So let me pass these around right here. And here's the template. Anybody wants to sketch it out real quick, they can. Any questions so far? I can usually work and hammer sometime at the same time.
How big is your angle iron?
It is 1/8 inch.
When you scale up,
You go thicker because you can't get the like the 3-inch Scotty. Uh, you cannot get that in 1/8 inch. It'd be great if you could get it in 1/8, because the thicker it is, the tougher it is to put hair on him. Because I really hammer texture, I like to see hair all over the dog. The finer the texture, the better it looks right there. So this is 1/8 inch. And I do start with the tail first. I'll flatten him first, start forging the tail, um, but you'll leave the tail, straight, because from then on, you're, working up and down the body there. But I get the tail out of the way, because as soon as you do the body right here, the body will get a little bit longer, and you can't sneak in and work that tail out. So I get that the very first thing. What? Yes.
could you hold the free-form up before you start beating on it so we can see it from the back?
Is this?
Yes, perfect. Thank you.
And everything is square cut right here, except for the tail. The tail is a little bit angled cut, but you want square cuts. You don't leave, like I said, you're going to drill the hole out with a 1/4 inch bit. But when you saw it, you're going to leave square edges, because when you start bending the head, the ears, the snout, if you got radius bends right there, you can't do good sharp edges, because you're going, you got the body, got the head, then you're going to have the ears, and then the snout. If you got a radius bend in there, it won't bend where you want it to. So by going with square cuts, it will bend easier. And the Scotty dog was kind of accidental. There was a guy, I think Mike Biggs from Wisconsin. Um, he did it up in a lacrosse Savannah conference 20-something years ago, and I was there, and he had it in show and tell, but I never saw it. But I was friends with the editors of the Australian group. Well, they saw it, took a picture of it, took it back to Australia, and when I would see the Australian guys at the next conference, I would swap some of our newsletters with their newsletters. So it went from Wisconsin to Australia back to Kentucky, which was the next conference. And I saw their newsletter, and the only thing it gave me was a picture and 1/2 inch angle iron. And so I took the 1/2 inch and measured it all out and did that. And then 6 years or so years later, I was doing a demo of the Scotty, and they said, well, that's Mike Biggs from Wisconsin. So it just, from there to Kentucky, back to Alabama, and then to wherever. So it has, that Scotty has traveled. And like Scott right here was saying, I tend to forage with the horn to the right. It's just the way I started. It's always been natural to me. But this right here may be in the way, but I think I can still forage right here. So normally this step right here is to the front of you. So I'm doing this backwards. I'm East Coast, not West Coast. Cut it off, yeah. We'll weld it back up when we get done. So we're going to flatten this right here a little bit. And I do kind of break the spine a little bit. I don't want it dead flat. I just want to kind of make it look like the spine of a dog right there. It's just kind of rounded in shape. So it's you're just kind of taking that hard edge of the angle iron off. There you go. Okay. You'll have to remind me to do that sometime or I'll forget. And I have a sandia that we did in our workshops 25 years ago, and great gas forages. But I have a little table right here for working little stuff, and I have a piece of angle iron that I welded right here. So all I got to do is just grab it right here. So it'll take me a little bit of getting used to this sandia. But these are great gas forages. So you're going to come right in here and just sneak right in there. I'll try to use the radius of the anvil and the radius of the hammer to draw out this tail. And Scotties don't have a long tail. They're kind of short. Let's go over here. So, and that's pretty much all you're going to get out of it. 1/8 inch does not hold the heat very long. And this is what I call the hair of the dog hammer. It's great for roses, but I do it more for Scotties. And let's see, let me flip him around. I'm going to do the body first. And this is like, it's not a cutting edge, it's a radius edge. It's like 1/16 of a radius fullering hammer. Because what I'm going to try to do is I'm going to fill the whole body, ears, the head, everything with fine hammer prints. Like I said, 1/16, but it's not cutting; it's fullering in there. I'm going to pinch the corners out just a little bit, because as I do the body, it's actually going to try to round itself up a little bit. So I kind of jump ahead and pre-shape. And it usually takes 2 heats per section right there. And you can texture this code. You just won't get as good as clean as you would if it's hot. I usually start off hot. Um, but you'll see kind of by pre-shaping the corners out a little bit, you kind of finish up fairly straight across. Because if you wind up being real radius right there, you're just going to make a rocking Scotty. He'll always nosedive. He'll never set level. So you always, if it does happen, you'll just grind him flat. So I'll kind of pre-shape, knowing at the very end when I'm done, and I don't have to do any grinding. He won't kind of nosedive. But you can actually make Scotties. Um, you there's one that's begging. Just and how you shape the ears, how you shape the tail. If you want him serious looking or a happy looking dog, the tail's waving. If if his tail is straight, he's pointing at something. And so I'll tend to make little happy Scotties. Now I have made them completely flat and do tire tracks over him. If you want to be a little bit morbid right there, you can make uh, unhappy Scotties, but you'll just kind of make up your own tire tracks. It's just straight line, and you just do some tread over him. And I really peen the ears quite a bit, make them floppy looking. And there's the there we go. And the nose, you don't have to worry so much about. You can do it square, or you can shape it a little bit. But all this, if you're not talking, you can do one fairly quick. This is something it's great. You can do as a project, or just they're great for little demo items or iron and hat or stuff. Because it's like I said, there's just a few tools that you need. Put a little more heat into him. You could, but for doing a demo like this, But yeah, you can almost hammer texture anything on the power hammer. In fact, when we do tools tomorrow, we'll talk about it. I brought some different texturing tools to show you some of the different jobs. One, how to set up for doing that, and two, some of the different styles you can do, and some of the different type of twists. There's some different twists I do that I do it right under the power hammer. I'll forge a twist versus twisting second. And that's some of the interesting stuff that you can do. sometime I think, Allison reminds me that I tend to play too much in the shop instead of making things to sell. I am making things for fun. I have a I'm a habitual experimentaler. Because if you was to come to the shop there, you'll just see boxes or tools. I mean, I just have nothing but boxes and boxes of tools that's just all one-offs just to see what if. Because I want to see what they do. And I've run out of space. They're on the walls, or in the boxes, or on the floor, they're under the tables. But yes, it would be nothing to texture under a hammer like that. Um, Especially with the tire hammer these days, it has such good control. Um, One of the demos I did last year for Illinois, and I'm going to do it for Minnesota when I go there in September, is I do a corn cob, and I do all the kernels under the power hammer. It's got such good control. I brought one of my early version corn cobs with me, but I'll sit there and do the whole corn cob um, under the hammer. And I have tried texturing the back, the spine of the dog, and I just wound up just leaving it alone. It's leaving it smooth. It's kind of like kind of a contrast from the hair texturing. I kind of believe I got the wrong hammer. This don't look like quite like 1/16, but it'll still work. I have several different versions of texturing hammers. This don't quite look like 1/16, but this is a winter coat versus a summer coat. So you can actually play this off. And you're just you're creating the, getting the essence of Scotty right here. You're not making, the real version of a Scotty would be, looks quite a bit different, but it really gets close. I'm just kind of looking at it to see if there's anything I've missed right here. And the only time I've really messed up on making a Scotty is I put the eyeballs in the wrong spot, and and the eyeballs will be right there, and this is where the ears are right here. Then right there at the corner is where the eyes will be. And I think I put them closer to the head. I mean, yeah, to the snout right there. So this is just about ready to go. And the other, besides the two eyeballs, I'll come right here and I'll take the same eye punch and I'll kind of put a little dimple right there, and I'll be like a little round, half round for the nose. And then this is just a simple little V block that I made years ago. And it used to carry around a small little 20-pound swedge block. I said, well, all I'm doing was just rolling the body. I didn't need that, so I said that'd be perfect. So we are
I want to see your text for that one.
this one.
They were asking what your rate is.
It's 1/16th, and this actually looks a little bit fatter than that. Either I've dulled it, pass that around, but it should be 1/16th. It's almost pencil thin. And so looking at the texturing on the Scotty, it looks either like I've dulled it at the last class, because we did some Scotties at our local forge, and it looks like it's a little bit flat. I'm trying to, yeah. And then I'll come, and I don't worry about trying to get the scale off, because after you roll the body, it does pop a lot of that scale off. There's really not a flat place on the whole animal that you can put a touch mark, but you can do it right there in the spine. So we got the nose, we got the eyeball, and like I said, just the texturing looks just a little bit fatter than it should be. If you look at one of the other Scotties, you'll see just how much finer the hair is. Pass that around. And there's also a pattern, I think, there for like a dash hound and maybe a hunting dog in those patterns. And I do the body first, before I do the head. And the head and the ears are all done with a torch right there. Yes.
Hey, so I was wondering, like, what's the easiest part to mess up on when you're making one of these Scotties? Like, is it the folding, the body, or where's that?
You talking about making a Scotty?
Yeah. Like, where's the easiest mess up?
The probably doing the eyeballs, because that's when I was really taking. I did one, and then I was looking to try to match up, because you don't want an eyeball here and an eyeball there, so you want to try to keep them the same. And like I said, you want to try to put it right there in the corner, because once you do your, because you're going to come down the body, the head comes up, come across with the ears, and you want those eyes kind of up a little proud. You don't want it down at the nose. You want it at the eyes. So that's like I was saying. The only one ever messed up was I put the eyeballs in the wrong spot. So that everything else you can actually disguise, but when you put the eyeballs in the wrong spot, that's the one thing that you can't really hide. So you're just going to kind of roll the body. And I'm basically looking for just like a barrel roll. I don't close them in too fat. So that's, see how it's just kind of like a barrel roll? So there's the body, it's done. And so from here on out, we do everything with a torch. And I set the torch up before we got started here. I got, you want to try to do quick isolated heats, so you'll need a little squirt bottle. You'll need a little scrolling plier tongs right here, just a little bitty guys, because you're going to kind of shape the ears when you're done. But just a pair of tongs and a hammer is all you need besides a torch. So, I mean, like I was saying, that they're a lot of fun to make. I mean, if you got a bunch of young people or just people who just want to play, Scotties are a great. So you're going to come right here, right after where the neck comes out of the body. And it doesn't hurt if you overbend it a little bit. So now you're at the transition of the neck to where the ears are. So the first one you're bending up, this one is going down. The what? It, it probably was at one time. I have come to doing demos. I'll forget my little squirt bottle, so I'll just take a water bottle, forge a tip, and burn a hole in it, because it's kind of amazing everything that you'll forget that you won't and need for doing a demo. What? Yeah, the nose will go, well, I'm bending where the eyes are at. Now the nose will come back up. So you're going to get right here where the nose was too slow on that one. And if you do bend up around the eyeball, when you punch in the eyeballs, it'll kind of get a little thin right there, so it'll overbend. So I'll come and hit that down. So you want to go ahead and get the nose. Hey, go ahead and drag those boxes up right here a little bit, or they'll fall apart before I can ever get them home. The boxes are actually sweet potato boxes. The farm that I lived on was sweet potatoes. My brothers still run that part of the farm. They're great for hauling stuff, but they just don't work good when they get wet. They'll just completely fall apart. So I'm just doing the nose. You're going to grab it, put your block over it right here. And it's just like another little half barrel row right here. Let's see if it, yeah, there we go. So now we're going to go back over here and we're going to finish the ears. And like I was saying earlier, the only two kind of motions you can put in the Scotty dog, is how the tail is wagging and how the ears are flopping. Do we want to bring this in right here a little bit so it's not, it's in a drip path. Yeah, I'll keep using the gas forge. But I didn't, they're such nice gas forges, you don't want to. Whatever, I mean, it ain't gonna bother me. No, it's just keeping them from getting, you don't want your, yeah, and if it got worse, I didn't want you to, Dan to scream at you, saying, you got my Sandia all wet. And I have finished these out all kind of ways. Uh, I've brassed them. Um, I've have polished them. I think I have one. I think I brought one. But I have one that's bronze, and that's peroxide, muriatic. It's, yeah, it's like uh, peroxide was just like 1 teaspoon to like I forget the exact ratio, but it's 1 teaspoon of muriatic acid. And it'll actually, and you want your steel clean, no scale, and you want no moisture in it. And but it'll make a beautiful bronze finish to it. And at times, if I have a new mixture, but the other top finish is I'll come and take sandpaper and brush or sand just strictly the high part where all the hair is. And it gives it a great dark color down or a polished high finish, and that looks good. There's all kind of ways to finish metal, and then I'll put a clear finish or wax finish on these. So I don't know if y'all got any clear, because y'all have an auction, right? Or I mean the finished items. I mean, if we got just a little can of clear spray, we'll hit these items when we're all done and give it a finished coat. But finish these out, I've even while the metal is still hot, I'll sit there and polish them up and get a bluing going. I've finished these in the blue. So there's all kind of ways you can finish these up. Let me we'll do this and then I'll get it out of the way. And so this is pretty much start to finish. Yeah, it only takes just a few minutes for to cut it out, and then just like I said, if you're not talking, you can hammer one out pretty quick. Any questions on the Scotty there? What?
A real live Scotty dog at home?
No, we got a stray that came up, but we call it Moose, but we don't call it Scotty. But no, I don't have. We've never had Scotties. Even though we're out in the woods and stuff, we have coyotes, bobcats, and everything else. So we have to be careful of what kind of outside animals. Yes. Uh, a lot of times I do them as gifts, for Christmas gifts. I'll do them for ironing the hats. Especially like doing them for demos, because they're like for somebody like you. I mean, it's a great. You got to have something that grabs. Something say, oh, everybody loves a dog, and I do cats, but the dogs looks better than the cats. But it's. I mean, I'll do 10 or 15 a year sometimes, just as gifts, ironing the hats and stuff like that. Then when I do shows. There's always somebody who comes around who loves Scotty dogs, and I get like $60 for them. So yeah, you have to be a Scotty dog lover, So
And that starting point was inch and a half by 8 angle?
yeah, inch and a half angle iron
By 8/6.
by 1/8 inch, and you'd have to check the little measurement there, but I think it's like 2 1/4 long.
Okay.
but I think it's 2 1/4. But don't hold me to that. Look at the pattern, because what I do is I don't even look at the measurements. I lay the Scotty out, and I use a Sharpie, or I don't use a Sharpie. Use a silver pencil that really marks on steel very well. And when you're cutting these out, you're cutting the silver pencil out. You don't cut the line. You cut everything away. You don't, you're taking away everything. So I've actually, on my pattern, I already know that my silver pencil is, a 16th or, fat. So I'm cutting away all the silver pencil. When I'm done, you don't see any silver. Uh,
Curve is the line.
yeah. Yeah, so you're taking everything away. You don't leave, or it'll kind of throw off your measurements right there, because you're doing something only 2.5 inches wide. This isn't, so everything goes. Two-foot door pull right here. That's our next little project right here. And it's a nice little, it's good for beginners. You don't have to, you don't need a ton of skill level for this either. This is, because it's a one piece. I mean, and all the projects I got right here, I've kind of already pre-organized everything in plastic bags, so I wouldn't have to look for everything. So this is our 2-foot door pull right here. So there's our foot. It's not 2 foot long, it's 2 feet. So, and this, I was doing the Wichita demonstration back in 21. They got Allison out to come out. She filmed it for them. She did all the cameras and stuff. And I was talking about all the stuff you can do out of channel iron, the scrolls, and I was showing, you can do a face in channel iron. And when I got home, a guy texted me. He said, "Could you make a door pull out of this channel like this right here?" And my reply was, I said, "That looks great." But I said, "If you'll take this right here, you got this little knuckle right here, but if you'll turn that into a foot, you got a perfect foot already into making right there." So so this I've already got labeled. I'm making a fish out of this. Except I should have did the scales before I bent it, or else you got to come and do this bend right here to put in all the scales. But this is to be a fish right there. But this, I think this is 6-inch angle, or 6-inch channel iron by 1.75 inches, or is it 5-inch channel? Yeah, 6-inch by 2-inch channel iron. So I even put like a belly in here to give it a little more character to it. And sometimes I actually will put some cross hatching, or you could do some file work, or if you come in there and punch some large ovals in there when you bend it, or if you punch, I'll take a large eye punch, and when you get through bending it, they'll be in ovals. So I'll do a lot of pre-work, so as you bend something, it'll stretch and distort it right there some. So so pass this around, and I will need somebody who can strike. It's not heavy striking. There's just some things I can't do, because I work a lot with a treadle hammer. I have 5 power hammers, but there are just some things so much easier to do with a treadle hammer. And this is, when I'm doing little detailed chisel work, or light bending, my go-to is my treadle hammer. So I need somebody who will just do light striking. So I need this. I need this.
That is brilliant.
What to do?
Make it in your foot there.
Yeah.
Out of that.
But when he sent me the picture, he said, "Can I make a door pull out of this?" I said, "Yes, but you'll make a foot when you. I mean, it's a perfect ankle foot." You're my striker. All right. Uh, let's go with this hammer because it's nothing heavy. So let's see right here. We do our what I call like a channel bend, and this radius, right? I mean, this a 1-inch bar goes in there, and this is 1 inch wide, 6-inch channel right here. So when I saw this out, it's 1 inch wide, because this actually matched my sweds right there. So let me grab this. We'll get this going. And we actually have a pair of tongs. And these tongs right here have been stretched just ever so slightly to fit the foot of this right here, because this was made for like 1 inch by 1/4 inch stock of there, but it kept hanging up there. So I just took them on the horn and opened it up just ever so slightly. So I got to bend it just a little bit right here. It may work right on my treadle hammer. It hits the plate right there, so this might work. So I'm just going to lay it up right here, and I'm just going to walk her down, and you just kind of, when I hold still is when you strike, and then I'll walk it. When I hold still, you strike. The what? If it'll fit right here, we won't have to worry about it. But I think because this is narrow right there, it would probably work. We're still getting splattered on. There, get it out of the way. All right, let me get some heat. So that's our first pass right there. So we're just getting started. So the next time out, he'll hit a little harder. Because if you get off, if you don't get it dead in the center right here, it actually will create a twist. So you want to try to stay dead in the center, because if you start on one side and wind up on the other one, you'll have like a spiraling door pull, which is probably okay too, but that's the downside of having a tent is when it rains. I guess so. Either I'm working too hard or y'all are not working hard at all. And this is one of the things that rarely does anything work out from the get-go. But when I cut the very first one, I already had the chisel. It was already made. I already had this set to the side. Only thing I had to do was just really radius this right here good, and it was everything wound up perfect on it. So having the right tool for the right job. All right, hit me hard right there. All right, we'll just walk it down through here one last time. All right, we're good there. Let me look at it. All right, let me turn it around. So this, you can only sneak in so close right here. Um, it's just one of those things. In fact, I'm a tad too tight because you can see where I run into this edge right there, and I would just probably just take a file and knock that out right there. So you can only get so close on it. You need, could you lay it across this chair right here? Keep it up out of the rain? Or is it zip tied right there? You need a pocket now? You want a hammer to hold that up? Or just small technical difficulties. You about ready? All right, that should do it right there. Let me have one medium blow right there. All right, I'm done with you, but I will need power to that in about 5 minutes. Is it possible to get power to that? All right, so we got everything. Our camera guy's gone. So it's just basically almost like a half round now. And so we're ready. I'm going to get it, good heat from end to end. I'll put it in the vise and try to get a decent roll with it. Any questions on the door pull? All right, so that part, you can actually dimple this on each side there, and you actually got a great little door pull. You could just leave it alone, but if you had already had pre-textured this in the center out there, you would distort and warp it as you would have bend it, or you could come in here, you could do file work on the side, but on this one, we're going to do the foot. So I'm going to give it just a couple minutes to cool off. And the blade on this saw is bimetal, which means it'll cut hardened steel. Not super hard, but this is just A36 right here. So we're giving it just a second to cool off. I'm going to quench it. I'm going to put my feet in real quick. And so basically, you can make a foot. Most feet are fairly ugly when you think about it. So I don't try to make pretty feet. I make big toes. I make, I'll put some hammer marks in there, to kind of distort it a little bit. So we're going to give it just a second to cool off. Get my silver pencil handy. Is this working over here? And this is an old Black & Decker right here, and I just went to Harbor Freight. I didn't pay much for it. The foot switch, just an on-off from Harbor Freight, but I did weld this on right here. It's a little steady rest, trued it up to the blade. Most of them will just have this little, because this is just it's a portaband to go out to the job site and cut slabs of whatever you want. But I have two of these in my shop, one on each end, and I use them all the time. For doing all my little shapes and stuff. It's unbelievable how much I use these for doing sheet metal, or I'm cutting 1 inch thick plate with it. It's just whatever I want. It's my little go-to. So it's, you just put a piece of heavy angle iron on it any way you can get it in there, and because you're not beating on it, you're just sawing with it, and the blades are only, I buy them, a bunch at a time, but I think they're like $14, and you can get them in, where it'll cut thick or thin. If you are going to cut a bunch of thin stuff, get for one that has more teeth in it. Um, because you will, rip out teeth if you get on thin sheet metal. So this is going to be, the very left one is a big fat toe. And let's see if we can space this out before. I got my spacing off just a slur. And believe it or not, I cut to the blade width right there. I use it as my lineup because I want these great big, long, skinny toes. And so I'll use, and all the toes are cut the same. But then I come back and I cut this angle off for the taper of your foot. Or if you don't want to do that, then you grind it. But all the toes are cut the same, and then I do the taper. It just what? They're both rights. You could do both lefts. Because I was kind of looking at it, or right here. No, I like two rights. But you could do a right and left. But what happens is, way I look at it, here's a toe. This is going to be on the wall. Here's a big toe here. There's a big toe opposite it. Now, if you do a left and a right, well, you got a big toe and a big toe. So I spent every bit of 5 minutes thinking, would I want a big toe, or big toe, big toe? So in that 5 minutes, I went big toe, big toe. So you have to really ponder the big things in life. And I did. I spent 5 minutes and I went on. And so basically I'm just drawing a big fat toe and trying to make all the other toes kind of even spaced right there. I think I got one little tooth out because it kept hanging up on me a couple of times. There we go. All right, so we got all the everything cut right here. So the next thing I'll do is I'll go here on the horn and I will put a big radius right here. 'Cause if you look at your foot, there's actually the outside of the foot is a little bit bowy to the outside. The inside is coming to the inside. So I'll hit it right here and it'll actually help spread the toes out a little bit. They'll naturally open. And when I dimple the toes, I just have a ball punch. I've tried taking like an eye punch where it would make spreading the toes out versus making it look more lifelike. So I dimple pretty hard. And then you may have some little creases where the toes are at, and I'll just hit those with a little bit of a file. And I will need my striker back, so that can be Dan or whoever wants to be on TV. All right. Another movie star in the making. Yeah, because this is not hard blows. It's just fairly light. Just hit it, not me.
Okay.
That's rule one. Don't hit me.
Yeah, when you're not, you're dead.
And we do have two toe punches. One is for the big toe, and one is for all the other toes. So one is probably 3/8, and one is probably 3/16. So we're going to do the big one first. All right, hit me again. Hit me again. Hit me again. Hit me again. One more time. I'm going to walk it off just a little bit. Hit me. Excellent. And this, instead of going round, we punched it and then I walked it off to give more of a toenail look. This is one of the other things I pondered is, do I want to go around or do I want to, and this one I did option out and go with the extra blow to make it a little oval. So here, these blows, I mean, As soon as I stand still, you'll strike and just, if you miss, just come back, or if my, chisel's not on there good, if it glances off, just, you'll kind of, tool making's not hard, it's just, this is probably S7 or or S5. Uh, I've bought either over the years, but oh, I forgot one thing. Back up a little bit. Let me oval the foot out. Um, yeah, for being in public, I'll go with the S series. At home, I'll go with H13s for hot cutting. H13 will work harden on top, and they'll chip. I don't like the chipping effect in front of crowds, but I rarely get any chipping off of the S series. But it's great hot working steel. They're both the H13, the S7s, S5 is great for hot work, but the H13 is actually better, but it work hardens. I have several H13 chisels that I have to go and grind the radius on the striking end. They'll be soft, but they still chip, and it's just not something you want in front of a crowd. You don't want flying bullets, in a populated area. All right, I'm gonna go right on the horn. This is where I was talking about. Then I make the foot kind of swell. All right, I'll show it to you this way so you can see the difference of why I go on the horn, because it distorts the foot just enough to make it look like a foot. So it's one extra heat, but it gives it a look that you can't achieve, otherwise. So just because it makes it a little more like a foot is supposed to be. It seems like this may take a while, but a lot of times I don't do singles. I'm doing twos or threes, whatever I can space my heats out to where I'm not coming out scaly. I'll come, one's in, I pull one out, something goes in. I pull something out, one goes in. Same thing for my tools when I'm doing. I'll have 2, 3 tools, the dies in there I'm making, I'll have several preheating, one is ready. I'll place a couple all the way, because I have my Sandia, I'll place a couple in the very back. I have these long tongs, and I'm rotating the steel front to back or back to front, however I want my heats. And when I'm working up, when I really got things going, I'll actually have 2 forges going where I'm preheating more. Got some scale. All right, go. Yep, no. I'll time myself out, but yes, you can definitely have too many. Excellent. They look ugly. And and you can go in here. I have a little special screwdriver if I want to do a little bit of that. However I want to. I mean, you can like I said, I have a little file that I'll go in there later with, and actually I'm going to go for one more heat. The other thing I do is I'll make the toes proud. Instead of having them flat, I'll kind of up them a little bit. But I'll take that little screwdriver sometime, um, and I'll kind of wiggle in there if we can do it. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it. But normally when I come over here on the horn, it'll actually spread that out. So I probably was too deep in the foot where that the ankle, the heel is. If I'd have been a little more on the toes, it tends to pop them out. Let's see if I can. This is just called the toe spreader. But sometimes you'll mess up your toes by doing that because you're so let's come right here. Let's hit this little toe spreader. I want to hit that right there. And hit that one right there. Excellent. And we will have to dimple this next. While I'm on this end, I'll do everything. See if you can. There we go. So if you want to see the close-up, I mean, you can look at the TV monitor right there. There it is. All right, so we got to dimple it. So all this is, for me, is done with a treadle hammer, and since I'll have all my tools lined out, and I'll just toe, dimple. I'll do as much as I can, and then go so far, put that one in, and walk out with another one. Pairs. In a cold forge. What? Well, the treadle hammer that you see inside, that's what I use. That I can't have him in my shop whenever I want him, and Allison complains if I work late at night or get her up there in the morning. So 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, that treadle hammer is ready to roll. And it's great for aluminum cans too. So, all right, hit me hard. Couple more times. Good, I like that. All right, by setting it right here, I'm trying to get this foot and this foot kind of set. Or else sometimes you got to lay it down, tap, get them both level, or it'll sit there and rock with you. So that's what I was doing there. So since that's my last heat right there, and you may think my wire brush is kind of wore out, which it is, but it really works great because it's not as aggressive as a brand new brush. But I'll work my little butcher blocks down, brushes down to a nubbins, and you want a pair of tongs now. You don't want something that'll mess up your foot on this. So if you kind of look at it, it's all the way forward to the foot right there, holding it. And I'm not, scarring it up or anything, and the toes are just clear. So you always want tongs to match a job. You know, if you can't hold it, you can't hit it. And I got into this right here just a little bit, so I'm gonna take that off. All right, so we are ready to come right here on the horn, and basically I'm looking on the horn for a good medium, or just in kind of like dead in the center right there. And this is kind of the way my anvil at home is set up. I'll have a little table set right in front of it where I'll lay everything out on, and I've got like a little tray right here to help catch stuff. I got a little quenching can right here if I want to do that, but it winds up catching more stuff. And even on the power hammer, if this was a power hammer, I have a little table set up right here where I can just grab whenever, I'll have my tools kind of laid out. Or if I'm making the dies, I'll have another little stool over here, and they'll have the individual dies, or what I call the masters. They're actually just a positive image, and they're just kind of laid out. And on this one, the toes did open up, except that one blow closed up the little toe. Yeah, you can see where they, not the best, but you can kind of see where they opened up a little bit. All right, we're ready to do some toes. All right, we got the big fat toe. Yeah. All right, I'm gonna walk it off. Excellent, right there, just light blow. Big fat toe. We may just walk through and mark them, then we'll heat it up a little more. Hit me. I got off on that one. Hit me right there. All right. So we're going to heat this one up, and Basically, that was just to go through and mark everything. All right, so we'll punch it a little bit deeper, then we'll oval it. All right, I'm gonna walk it off. Hold it. Go. Excellent. These toes may even look better than the first ones. All right. So we're gonna put the dimple in there. So that everybody, yeah. So making the toes fatter just makes it jump out at you a little more. All right. One more time. And the shape of this right here looks more like a gumdrop. It was just a ball peen hammer, and I just really ground it down to like a gumdrop shape. So if I wanted to drive it in really deep, it would keep, it's real rounded, and it's just shaped just like a gumdrop. It's not, it's the regular, ball shaped tool anymore. It's a gumdrop shape. And what? I did, and if you'll notice that the head is mushrooming a little bit, because whatever your striking is, striking in, if it's on a power hammer or a hand hammer or using a sledgehammer, something's got to be softer. That's why I was saying like the H13, you could have it soft, but it would work harden, where the S series did not seem to work harden as bad. So whenever I sold treadle hammer tools, I always did it with S7 or S5. But at home, I like H13. So it's kind of strange. What I sell and what I use is two different things. But when I go out on and do demonstrations or teaching, I'm pretty particular. All right, this one right here, I'm gonna curl the toes just a tad. I forgot to do that. Well, let me see how level I am. Yeah, it's pretty level. So I'm just gonna bend those toes just ever so slightly. And later this afternoon, when we stop, I'll come and kind of kiss the toes just a little bit with a file. Hey, what? Where you could actually chisel in flip flop. But yeah, if you could make flip flop for it, that'd be a little. That have to be the thing you have to go home and work on there, Scott. But Bill Moffett from Wichita, Kansas, I always call this the Moffett foot because he was the one that came back. Well, what can I do with this shape? And I said a foot. So I always give him credit for that. All right. So now you'll kind of see the reason why big toe, big toe. Let's let him catch us on the TV. So wait, what? Well, if you're like this, it'd be toe, big toe, big toe. So it's just one of those things, oddity of nature that you could take channel iron, and I love taking something that's right off the shelf that I have, and finishing it into something quite usable and very unique, versus most channel iron or most door pulls are made out of flat bar or round. It just kind of adds to the mystique a little bit. What time do we have?
I got 2:45.
All right. Next little project is a very traditional corkscrew. Let me clean off a spot right here. Get all these animals out of the way. Did I just set it up? Everybody kind of knows about the modern corkscrew that it's just a spiral, but the traditional corkscrew was forged, and these are kind of a little bit slow and tedious, but I love making them because they are a little bit hard, and I forge the helix under the power hammer. The tire hammer's got enough control that you can actually forge the corkscrew, but this is the traditional corkscrew, 1700s, I don't know, whenever they first started doing corks in the wine bottles. But there was a write-up in the BAM magazine 10 or 15 years ago, and I saw it at John C. Campbell, and so at nighttime I'd go in the shop and see if I could make one, but I couldn't quite get the exact orientation of the piece there. But off of this corkscrew, it kind of led me into like 100 versions of different forged twists. I mean, I went kind of crazy on making twists, all under power hammer. I mean, I can forge a spiral, I can forge auger bits, I can even forge thread under the power hammer. I can do a nut in a Acme thread under the power hammer. I can do there's like 4 or 5 different kind of threads that I can do under the power hammer. But this was always the hardest, so that's why I'm going to show it. No reason to show you something easy. Um, what's hard is that I make these on the hammer, or making them on the hammer is actually easy. I can get like 9 out of 10 uh, um, spiral or the helix, but when I do it on the anvil, I'm about 0. I can never get it to lock down. And actually, my tool right here, I tried several different ways of locking this in right here, and I was always having a hard time. I was trying to weld a plate, and I would lock it in right here, and but every time you hit it, it would start to wobble a little bit. I'd tighten it down a little more, then I'd break my weld, and not knowing exactly if I was working on a big anvil or a little anvil. Um, but under the power hammer, I just take a clamp and I'll go up under it, and I'm using 5/16, and you'll just go tap 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 tap, but it takes like 3 heats because you can only go so fast with it, and it's just slow little tapping blows. And Terry Sheridan, he does great he's from Collingwood in Ontario. Um, he does his on the anvil, but he started on the anvil, and I started doing them on the power hammer. So what I'm going to do is we're going to try clamping it, and then somebody's going to strike for me, and I'm going to hold it, and we're going to see if we can get it to work. I did do the first little heat under the power hammer. So I just got to dig that out. But these right here, this is when I first started making them. They look great, but they really suck when you try to pull out a cork. I mean, it's all you can do to hold it between your legs and pull out with it, because when you put that cork in, it compresses, and I don't know if they're coated with something or if it's the wine itself makes it sticky. Now, if you can ever get it broken, you know, the best cork openers are the ones that's got the little lever on them. They work great. These are the kind that you stick in your pocket. They just fold up and you put in your pocket, but you just screw these in till it touches the bottle, lift up on it, and they'll pull right out. You know, it's just like a little lever action. These go in, and when it hits the bottle right here, it pulls itself out right there. But you can still get some of these old ones out of eBay, and you'll see some of these that's been they got different kind of fancy wood handles. You can get old ones or new ones, but you won't find a whole lot of these kind of here. But there's actually a collectors group that collect these old wine bottle openers. But what we're going to do is this version right here. So pass that around, get that going. And even on the sucky one, if you'll look how I did this, it has like the twist in there. I got the forged the tenon in there, but on top right here, I square punched the hole in it. So when you set the rivet, it won't sit there and twist. So you can look at that there's they look great when they're all finished. They just horrible to open up a wine bottle. But this right here is one of the longest ones I've ever done. The longer it is, the harder it is to hold control with it. Pass that around right there too. So here it is. So we got the first little hit right here going. So let me lock this in right here, and we'll see if we can make it work. No, there's nothing to lock in. You know, this is kind of, yeah, right there. You know, it's just, I mean, this was made for the go for my power hammer.
Let's move it up a little bit.
Did it move? All right. So the problem is that, you know, I could make one that would go right here on the anvil, but every anvil is a little bit different, you know, because you got to adjust for the taper, you got to adjust for how thick, you know, my Peterite has a very end heel right there. So it hangs over so far here, but so you'll kind of, it's just tap, 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 and I'm gonna put a little bit of pressure in, and to make sure he always strikes dead center, I welded a little button on it right here. Normally on a power hammer, I don't even need that, but you can't hit here, 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 there. You have to hit dead in the center, because when this, let's see if I made the impression right here. Did somebody else say something?
Just wanted to make sure I got this.
Oh, you'll get it. So this is 3 pieces of 5/16 on bottom, 3 pieces of 5/16 on top. So you got 3 running this way and 3 running this way, and you got to stay dead in the center, because if you come left or you come right, it throws it off right there. And you can't hit too hard where it crunches it. Then you can't index it. So the first time in a power hammer, you hit it, and then you index about 8 to 3/16 while turning 90 degrees. And then you do it again, index and turn, and then you back up. Then you start going in, out, in, and it's actually growing in length the whole time. The what? All right, so you got 3 running this way, and then 3 running this way. I'm going to pass this around right here so you'll kind of see what's going on. But it's 3 5/16, and your grooving will be 5/16. And I start with 5/16. Going bigger, you think, well, a bigger stock would hold more heat. Well, it don't really work that way. You will actually have to increase your, the 3 pieces to whatever size you match. But that is, it seems what they did traditionally, and that's just what I kind of started with. So it's, here, this is one of these things that's very hard to translate, but Terry would get right here and strike, index, and then start feeding it in and out. Where I'm getting down eye level, I'll set up a little stool right here, working the treadle with my left hand. I'll put a light squeezing right here. I'll get the hammer going dink, 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 and I'm going in, out, in, out. The whole time it's just, the hammer's just running like this, about as slow as you can get it. And, too fast, too hard, you'll just mangle it. And if you come out really, really hot, and if you're squeezing it too hard, you'll twist it in half. So you'll just enough resistance that you can feel it going in and out. And
You got a guide here too.
yeah, I do have a stop on one side. I tried doing it on both sides. What happens is when you hit it, this side bounces up. So when you try to rotate, well, it hits that stop where you got to take it out, straighten it, and then go back in. So I'll leave the front side free. It'll go whatever it wants to go, and I'll kind of adjust myself on the back side. And if you do get it off a little bit, I'll stop, true it up. I got a good step on my anvil, and I'll come and kind of straighten it up a little bit. So your blows, I'll kind of lay it in here. So it's just,
Is that too hard or too?
that's probably right. You'll kind of feel for it, but I'll just start rotating it in and out, and you'll actually go a little faster.
Okay.
And you'll see me going in and out. And you can't use tongs because you can't feel it if it's slipping. You'll think you're turning. So I'll put I'll do this, or I'll put a set of vice grips on it, and I never want it, because I don't want to hammer twice in one spot because it's hard to jump that hump because you want to it's smooth and easy, smooth and easy. And I've sold these before, and I'll tell them every time. I said, this will be the hardest thing that you'll try to do. And most people will come back and say, yes, it is. Because I'll say you don't need a whole lot. 5/16 is cheap, and you only need a few inches of it, but you'll use up 20 feet before you get a good one.
So do you make the screw and then cut off the end?
Yeah, if it's what he's talking about, if I'm making the one that goes in your pocket, I cut off this end because I'll flatten this, and then the little loop around goes around it. Now, if I'm going to go with the one that has the little half round right here, I'll go the opposite. I'll cut off this end, and I'll also go on a belt sander, and I'll polish my edge right there, get a good smooth running edge, and you can do like they did right here, put a little key in there, or you can put a little dimple. Come in here and stake it, swell it up, drop this, or you'll actually do this in first, and then drop that on, and then swell it, or put your dimple in there. Whatever you want to do. I've done both. Go ahead and pass that around. You about ready? All right, hit. Hard. Harder. All right, stop.
You see the die going up and down when you get to the
Yeah. So I'm telling him a little bit harder because it is getting into a groove right there, but it's just a slow, kind of steady drum beat. Hit, hit, you're turning, turning, turning. You want to, but I already had a little bit of an impression right there for him to go with. So this time in, he'll go a little faster and a little harder. A quarter inch what? If I'm making an auger bit, depending on what auger bit I have. I've got little auger bits up.
Quarter inch diameter.
Probably a quarter. Because whenever you're forging shapes, usually you're compressing your swelling, or it's compressing out right there. So I'll take when you're shrinking in, it's actually swelling something out. So you can make a quarter inch auger bit because it is pushing something, it is fullering in and it's swelling out. You can actually go smaller sometime. A lot of times I'll go with smaller stock because I don't want that, because the amount of metal you got will be greater. All right. A little slower, a little slower. All right, let me straighten it just for a second. So, all right, let me get another heat right here. We had one little mishit right there, so you can see it right there. But we'll go for one more heat and see if we can't. I probably wouldn't, because I have to be in your time, because it's hard for me to say slower or faster, so I wouldn't end time with you right there. But that right there is working fairly good. It's clamping in. But Terry had some kind of setup. I saw him do a demo one time. He had some setup right here that adjusted for the angle and for the size hole. I don't know if he called ahead to see what size. All right, try that. All right. So probably one more time in, we could knock all that out. But I'm just gonna jump on one of those right there that I already got finished, and then we're gonna go ahead. We're gonna forge. Did everybody see? Where is my TV?
From back here, it looks like you're holding the bar below the plane of the die. Are you doing that intentionally rather than coming straight in?
I'm trying to hold it like this. I have a little stop right here. Now I could see like this is going over a little bit. But that's just the nature of metal. When you hit it, it bends with it. But I'm trying to hold it as close.
It looked like your hand was a little below the plane, down there, and I wonder if that was intentional.
I could have been. Well, a lot of times I'm looking into it right there. At home I'm just kind of sitting on the stool. The die or the tire hammer, the top die or the bottom die is like this high, so I don't have to get as low right here. Like I said, Terry stands up on it, and I look at it from the end view. So I could have been a little bit low right here. So not to get hung up on trying to, finish that right there. But it doesn't look like much right there. But to me, I always have a bear, on the anvil. And like 3 heats, I'm done. I mean, from end to end, and I got a, good start with it. So this is a little warm. Pass it around. But you can look inside of it. So this is one that I've already got ready to go. So my next step is actually to flatten this in. Here was the first one I did years ago, except I did it too tight. It's got like a hot spot on it right there. And so we're gonna we're gonna finish this out right there, then we'll cut that off, and then polish it and finish it out with you can go with a file or you can go in with a belt sander. And then we'll do this I'll have to. I was thinking this was 7, but I cut it at 7. But this looks more like 6 right here. So we're gonna finish this one right here. But if you can ever get past that first blow, get that set and get it going, you're like home free. Once you get that, you're done. It's just that first initial turnings that seems to throw everybody off. But under the power hammer, it's like ding ding turn, ding ding turn. Try not make this too thin. I'm right at where I consider it too thin, but I think it will still survive. So that's, I'm trying to put what I just forged right there dead in the center. So, I might have got that a tad too thin right there. I like having an 1/8 or 3/16. 3/16's the best, and that's right at an 1/8 there. I think it may be a little thin, but that's like I said. Now you're kind of done with this, except for the grinding. So it gets cut off right at the last spiral, and you actually put a decent little point right there. So and this is what a lot of people see when they see corkscrew. That right there, that's been, most blacksmiths can do that right there. That's fairly easy to do. Uh, 16. Well, cork seemed like I measured the thick, the height of a cork is around 1.5 to 1.75 inches. So you need, you don't have to go all the way through it, but you should at least go 3/4 of the way through a cork is kind of what I go through. So there's no book. There's only, if you look it up on the internet, there's somebody out there that has some of the original tools, probably from the 1800s, and there's no write-ups or anything about it. You can look at those, and they look like little bitty nothing tools. It's a top and bottom swedge. So this is 5/16, 7 inches long, I think. This one here is like 6.5. So this is 7, so it's just a tad long. So it's just a little neat little project if you like to drink wine, or know somebody, you know these are, there's actually clubs that collect these old ones. Um, But you can take, if you want to fancy them up, you can come in here and do file work. I've took them and grooved and shaped. You know, I'll go ahead and make these real fancy. There's not a whole lot you can do to the helix, even though most of your work is in the helix. This right here is where it shows, and just like the one I did the twist in, I've actually did the other way, and I'll take staghorn. You know, I've took, you know, and made, you know, real fancy handles, you know, with the file work and all. So you can really spend a lot of time. And I'm just making an offset. Let's see, get right here. And this is just a half on, half off blows, going about half of the thickness. And so there's nothing, you know, real technical about it. Now when you put them together, you want to kind of, you don't want to do a close sandwich like that. You want to try to do where they're offset like this a little bit. Or this down in here will hit, which is what's happening right here. It's hitting in there. I need to come in here and do a little more grinding on it. If one's a little bit longer than the other one, I'll come back on the belt sander and kind of come around and grind them. So basically you got the offset and offset all on the same side. So I'll heat it all up and I'll just take it and bend it around into like a little teardrop shape. So if you're going to forge the handle, you know, now's the time to do it. You know, if you want to make it into an oval, or if you know, got, you know, whatever kind of design you want. But if you're going to do file work, I'll do the file work after it's in the teardrop shape. I'm off on this one. So I'll bring these two together right here. But there's actually the name of the people. The pocket version is actually made for the person who goes around like at a restaurant, the guy who brings you the wine, and he'll pop the cork right there in front of you. There's the what? Sommelier. So this would be what he would have. Sometimes he would wear it. A lot of times it'd be in his pocket. I'm looking for my little screwdriver because you don't want it closed up all the way. Yes. Yeah, that'll work. So this part is done. It just got to remember what I did. Nope, that's all right. So let me drill this real quick. Mm, the one thing I didn't bring is a center punch. Anybody got a center punch in their pocket? Center punch in their pocket? Anybody? Um, Surely we got something right here I can. Let's see here. Just something to keep the drill bit from wandering off. Where is my toe punch? Let me have you just for a second right here. I think this will work. If it don't work, then we'll wait for the other center punch. All right, wait till I get it. All right. One more time. One more time. All right. That was just my toenail punch. It's in the round, but it will work. And this is just a 1/8 rivet. All right. We just used my toenail punch and just it was good enough, small enough that it did work. And usually I'll bring a larger drill bit to take that burr off right there. I think that will work. Or I did bring a file somewhere. I remember what I did with it. I think this will work. This should have been about 1 turn longer. I think each revolution is 3/8. I'm not sure if this is scale or I got it too hot. All right, let's do our rivet. And I could not find my 1/8 rivet, so and here, this is if you're going to make the one that calls for this piece right here. This is just pipe that I fuller down, cut in half, and that's just how easy you make 2 at a time, just like Kindle cups. And so that would be your piece up. It would go on. It'd go like right here. Then your handle would go on top. So if you do need these a little bit longer, if you do this version here, now the rivet, like I was saying, I could not find my 1/8 rivet, so I did have some 1/8 wire. So I just took a piece of mild A36, split it. Well, actually, I drilled the 1/8 hole in there, and then slid it down the middle, and then just welded a piece on top. I had everything but 1/8 in these. I got a series of these where if I wanted to make rivets, and the slitting part just holds it in place. So now you just make your head, and somewhere around here, there's my file. This will work. And this is fairly mild. So if it was just, it was actually a tad over 1/8, and that's why it's polished at one end to make it fit, because I know the drill bit was right. So the wire, but somebody gave me like 1,000 feet of wire that looked like 1/8, but it was free, so I can't complain. So what did I do with, here we go. Now this may be a little springy, so try that. One more time. I'm off just a smidge. Try that. That should work. Or I'll make it work. I'm not in my center, but I'm going to drill it anyway. All right, I will have to do a little bit of grinding. I'm a little bit fat right there. I should have had this closer to the top. So we'll have to do a little bit of, I'm fat right in here. Yeah, I am really close. And then I kind of line it up. I might could just reforge that real quick, get that. What? No. Um, well, like I said, you'll have to do a little bit of file work or grinding on it, because I do hit these all with the little belt sander. I'll just go in there right on the edge. But what you do get is you mess up your hole a little bit, and I've probably been better off grinding that. What time do we have? It's what? 3:35. All right, because I gotta let this cool off right there. Then we'll try to re-drill it. So that is basically how I do the corkscrew. Because right now it's just a matter. I mean, if you've the one that I passed around, I mean, setting the other rivet, where is the other one? I'll show you how I kind of, I don't want nobody touching this right here. Not that one. There's another one that looks like this one. They should have been. Anybody know where the other corkscrew is at that looks like this? That one has. And the long forging, does anybody know where that one is at? It should have been. All right, this one, you know, it's ready actually to be done up. And when I do these, yeah. I try to set this, I'll squeeze it in a little bit, and I'll get it fairly tight because it, you know, it was a little bit proud. And sizing the rivet, you know, a rivet is, you know, to make a head is 1.5 times the diameter of whatever your rivet is. But on something like this, I just kind of eyeball, and the little dacks, I'll just come right here, and I know my rivet is, you know, 1/8 inch, but I'll just kind of eyeball 1 1/8 instead of sawing it or measuring it. Clip it, grind it a little bit. And you really don't want to put a whole lot of pressure, or you won't be able to open and close it. But you want just enough that it doesn't come open in your pocket and tear your blue jeans. So this is one I made the parts at home. And this is, except for spraying this, I even got a touch mark in there. I'm way ahead of the game. So this is the one I'll actually put in the iron hat, because that one, whatever I did with it right there on the ground, like I said, when I heat it up and I hit it, it's no longer a round hole, it's oval. And I know as soon as I hit it with a drill bit, I'm going to break the drill bit. I should have carried it in there and ground it or filed it right here. So this is the one I'll put in y'all's auction or however y'all do that. So so this is a finished one right there. So pass that around. That's the same one that we did, you know, we passed around earlier, except I just set the rivet. You know, it's just squeezed it with my hand right there to take up all the play, tapped with it, and then it's done. The next, let's see, what did I say? The frog. Let me get all this stuff right here out of the way. It's just going to bounce right off the table. And here's a little, I mean, this took every bit of 10 minutes to make this right here. I didn't have one because usually I have a little bag of 1/8 inch that's, you know, whenever you buy rivets, buy them a little bit longer than you need them. That way they'll fit universally and you trim them to whatever you want. It's not that much more money to buy a long rivet versus 10 different size lengths of rivets and just trim them as you go. And the frog that you see right here, we won't be able to get this done before 4 o'clock because if I remember what Scott said, stop at 4 because there's something goes on after 4. Is that? But the frog was done at the same time about 15 years ago for a lady who had the table. I did the turtle and the frog at the same time, and the turtle worked out. We have what's called an Eastern box turtle, and I happened to have one that was walking by the shop, and I got it and took all the measurements and kept him for like a day or so until I got my pattern all worked out. But he's completely hollow, and then the head was I think like a either a half-inch ball die or 5/8 ball, and then I just ground the nose and migged in the eyeballs. Um, and the frog, and all this, every animal I did on this table is I did two of them, and she got one and I kept one, so she kind of paid for the patterns and for doing one, and so the frog. And now I have a die that makes these things out of solid stock. And tomorrow when we do some tools, I'll show you how I do frogs. Uh, but this one right here was my first ever frog, but it was done in pipe. And so basically, if you look, you subtract the eyeballs right there. This right here is just like a piece of pipe, fullering it down like you do like a candle cup, front and back. I did one end, I measured it, and while I still had the handle, took it and flattened it. Now the nose, I made a longer taper. On the butt end, I did as close as a taper as I could. Something of what you would see right here. So I wanted the mouth kind of long and the butt straight on. And so I did the two tapers, flattened it, and then went over to my sawed the mouth out, and then I started making frog feet. And I probably spent more time on the feet than I did on the whole body, because basically, what's a perfect frog foot or frog legs? So so we'll start on this afternoon, and we'll finish the legs maybe tomorrow. But I migged them. I went up on the MIG, and I kept changing my settings. And you kind of come off of it a little bit, and just bzzz, and if you get it right, it'll leave like little indentions. Now the piece, wherever it is, I couldn't get my settings just right, so they're a little more roundish, but I don't have the little dimple. You got to kind of play with it to get that. So pass the frog around, and that's just a cricket right there. So I've not got my fullers out. I'm hoping it's.
Put your piece of pipe over there on that.
Oh, you did find it.
Yep.
So it does look like a frog.
Yeah, it does look like a frog.
All right, I gotta find my fullers. I hope I did set them in here. They're probably in the very bottom. And this was Clay's early version of the Smith and Magician right here. And, back in the early days, I don't think, everybody kind of goes to the standard now of what Jerry Hoffman does. He had a nice little setup. Now everybody kind of matches what Jerry has done. But this was Clay's early version, and I just matched his. So they're just interchangeable dies. I just got a whole series, and these are all just mild steel. And I use this strictly up under the treadle hammer, except for when I go and do a demo. And then it's either in the anvil or in a vise. So this is how I neck down. Now, I do have a set of different versions of spring fullers that goes under the power hammer. But it's up in a case like the mouse right here. I did this all under the radius dies of a 25 Little Giant. I just sat there and just started necking it down, and just would just sit there and rotate and would push in on it, so it would come in and fuller in real close. But all this was done strictly under the Little Giant, or 25 Little Giant. where the string of pearls are actually done with a different set of pullers that's more V, because I want to do the string of pearls. This is a very traditional piece right here, so they would have did it with solid. So the V pullers let you get really close and you're creating a ball. And what you do, you do a long taper on a piece of pipe right here. And so every time you do a V, you get a little closer, a little closer, a little closer. And because you're coming down a taper, it looks like, you know, it's kind of like an illusion, but you're just decreasing your ball, but it's all with a V taper, where this is just a very radius taper right here. Right, so this is, like I said earlier, that I hadn't did a frog in about 15 years. So I had to do one at home to make sure I still remembered what I was supposed to do. So I didn't quite get my measurements down just right. And I'm hoping, and I may have to cut this off right here. Yeah. Because when I did do this earlier, I did it holding it like this. So I'm going to have to cut this off right there. So I'm going to cut this real quick, and so I can hold it from the end. And I will need no, I won't need a napkin. I can go without it. Yeah, I don't see any tongs here big enough. Yeah, so let me cut this. Yeah, these may be too big. Let me just saw it real quick. I think there's a tooth missing here. Should have brought a spare. So pass that head around. So that would be the way I would start that, except I would go ahead and go ahead and neck it down completely there at the tail end of the frog. Normally, if you're going to hold pipe and work it in a coal forge or a gas forge, you actually plug it with paper or a piece of cloth, because the heat, as long as you got an open channel right here, the heat will travel up it really quick. So you plug it, but this is going to get hot no matter what I do, so I'm not going to plug it. And never, you know, never quench pipe and be looking at it, because it's just like a steam bath coming right at you. I mean, it's going to blow at you. So I mean, you can do it holding it at an angle or plug it up if you're going to do it. But that's you can get a very quick burn, make a bad day very quickly. What is the one and a it's 1/8 inch. Is it one in? What? It is welded pipe. It looks like 1 3/8. But if you want a bigger frog, I mean, you can make a frog as big as that right there. You change sizes, it changes the mass, or you can shorten it and lengthen it, and you can change up the frog. When I was playing with the mouse die was one of the first dies I made way back in the 90s, and I just got so carried away that I just made all kind of mice different ways. But and then I started trading with other people. So I start out right here with this. It just takes a couple of heats per end right here. But I start with this, and then when you get so far down, I have to finish with this one. And you can go with a top and bottom, one of these right here. 4 points of contact is sometimes better than 3 points, where this is 1, 2, and 3. So it's kind of however you want to go with. I usually wind up just with a V cut and then a flat, and then finishing up with this. And you got to have some sticking out the end, or it just won't quite collapse. You got to have some kind of resistance. So I'm going to get a little more heat right here. So that's how much you can kind of get on the first heat. And this one will actually be the butt end of the frog, because normally I would have been actually pulling on it, but I was pushing on it because I want a very straight cut off end on the back side of the frog, where I want to taper it in, so when I do the head itself, I actually be pulling out a little bit. Or I could, I don't think I've gone so far that I still can't pull it out. So what I'll do is I'll go ahead and I'll come over here on the edge of the anvil when I get close and create this taper that you see right here. I want it just like a long nose. But and once I start hearing it clicking, I'll change to this other die right there, and I missed. What? Time. You mean 4 o'clock time or get it hot time? Oh, okay. Is it 4? No, because I got, I still got to taper it, then I got to start on the butt. So we'll do that tomorrow. So Scott's calling time right here, so well tomorrow we're going to do, we're finished, the pieces to the frog, and I have what's called a barley twist handle. It's one of the oldest twist handles that I can give you a name of. There's several names through history. We'll give you some history of it, and then we'll do some tool making and talk about some of the different twists and different tools that we can do with tools. Because if I'm doing a demo, I mean I can go for almost 8 hours with just doing nothing but different kind of tools on the power hammer. But here we're just going with strikers. So I mean I did bring like a whole box of different kind of tools. I'll show some different texturing. So hopefully you got some stuff out of days. If you like wine, I got you covered. If you like dogs, I got you covered, and if you like dirty feet, I got you covered. So I got almost all the blacksmiths covered. I know they like to drink, and they got dirty feet, and most of them are animal lovers. So you're kind of covered. So I just need a few minutes, Scott, just to pull my stuff together. To get it out of your way. So Scott's taking over. And Scott was, he was talking on the phone there. Y'all used to do a slideshow or something. So if you want to take like a 30 minutes or an hour for people to ask questions, about tool making. Clay is actually writing a book. He's up to 70 pages right now on tools, and he's actually going to make a second book, maybe of some of my tools, but he is hopefully have it out this summer, and he's demoing in Oklahoma. I'm going to be his second man. He'll talk and he'll point to me what I'm supposed to make, I think, and Quad State also, so I'll be his second man there again. So if you want to make it to Quad or Oklahoma, which is October, I think. I can't give you the date. I don't know it.
Anybody that hasn't been to Quad State, you need to go at least once in your life.
Yeah, it is. You just can't believe how many people are there just with tailgating. It's like acres and acres.
You can buy a small 18, 20 micro little scribe, or you can buy a 350-pound Erie.
Yeah. You never know what shows up. It could be a couple hundred animals one time and 10 animals the next, or it'll be a couple hundred vices. I mean, it just swings back and forth, whatever the whim is. But yeah, it's pretty amazing